Hello, everyone. I'm Kevin Cruz. Welcome to Culture Code. I'm excited for our guest today, who is the Chief People Officer of Veeva Systems, Vivian Welsh. Vivian, welcome. And where are you joining us from today?
Thank you, Kevin. I'm joining you from home today, from Jupiter, Florida.
Jupiter, Florida. Now, Vivian, did you know that off the coast of Jupiter is some of the most shark attacks in the United States? Did you know that?
I did. I still like to take my chances when we go to the beach, but so far so good for me.
The only reason why I know that little tidbit, that little factoid, is because my son and I swam with the sharks without a cage off of your beautiful coast. And what was weird was I thought, oh, to swim with all these sharks, and it was swimming with sharks. I thought you had to go way out there. We were looking at the people on the beach. We were looking at hotels and condos on the beach. Like, we're not that far off the shore, and we're with 6, 7, 8 foot sharks. It was a little weird.
Hopefully they were nurse sharks and not hammerheads.
They weren't hammerheads. They were mainly bull sharks. So they have a bad reputation. Sharks have a bad reputation. It's not their fault. If they bite you, they're very confused. So I just want to clear the air. So yeah, I know where Jupiter is. That's great. So let's dive in. So Vivian, Veeva is legendary in the SaaS software community, in the life sciences industry. But for those out there who haven't heard of Veeva Systems, just in your own words, what do you guys do? Tell us a little bit about the company.
Sure, thank you. Well, Veeva is a high-growth software company that supports our customers, which are mostly biopharma companies, support their mission to improve health and extend human life. So we have software, data, and services that all support the industry and helping them get things like medicine to patients quicker.
About how big's the company?
We have about 7,000 employees across more than 40 countries.
I'm assuming the headquarters is not in Jupiter, Florida.
No, it's not in, maybe one day, you never know. But right now it's in Pleasanton, California. We were founded in 2007, and that's where our headquarters is at.
Wonderful. So we're here to talk about culture, and Veeva, I know, has a unique culture. A lot of people describe even just the concept of culture differently. So let's just start, in a few words. How would you describe your organization's culture?
Sure, it's a great question. Thank you for it, Kevin. So the culture of Veeva is really the culture of the people in Veeva, right? We all come from different backgrounds, different experiences. So when you put it all together, that's what really forms our culture. But one thing that really aligns us is our vision and our values. So, we're focused on building the industry cloud for life sciences. That's Veeva's mission and vision. And our values are to do the right thing, customer success, employee success, and speed. So by having these common values that we all, agree with and live each day, that really helps to shape the culture of the company.
Now, did I hear you right? You said speed was one of them?
Speed is a company value, yes.
So what I love about that, and this is really for the listeners, I'm not lecturing you, Vivian. What's unique about that, you can hear certain kinds of values, usually in high-performing companies, that someone could make a reasonable argument to take the opposite of the word, right? So speed is one of those unique things, which is going to come with many advantages, but also, might have some counter side. There could be a company out there that says our value is move slowly or preserve, history or something like that. So it's a very unique word that it's going to stand out because it's so different. And so following up with that, for all of those values, the culture you're trying to foster, including something unique like speed, what are some of the things that you're doing to teach people about it when they're a new joiner, to sustain it, throughout the organization?
Sure. Well, we have also some operating principles, which is our ways of working, right? We have a few of those, but one of them is to keep it simple. And that really helps with the core value of speed. They go hand in hand. Speed doesn't mean, lack of quality. Of course, do it correct, do it well, but keep the pace, right? Keep the pace when we were a startup. The pace of innovation, it's not just about how we work, but it's also about the products that we're bringing to market. We need to continue to evolve, do it quickly, do it well, in order to stay Veeva, stay the same company that we were when we started.
Yeah, that's a great mindset. I was talking to someone yesterday about, unfortunately, I think in so many organizations, they start obviously as a startup and then they grow and they sort of plateau and get settled in their ways. And so to actually you say, hey, we want a culture of always innovating, always moving with pace. I mean, that's going to ensure long-term success. Now, similar to what I just asked, I'm curious to dive in even more to what you're doing to train frontline leaders, frontline managers, because people who listen to the podcast who know me, I'm always talking about the Gallup research, the LeadX research that says 70% of the variance in employee engagement, how we feel about work, it's going to come from our manager. You know, it's the old line of join a company, leave a bad boss, or stay in a company that might not be amazing for you, but you have a great boss. Like they're the filter of so much. So how are you supporting and developing those frontline leaders?
Sure, it's a great question. So we do have several programs, ways of working, philosophies, really that support our other core value of employee success, right? When we think about employee success, we think about creating an environment where employees really feel they can do their best work around great people. We believe very strongly in internal mobility, right? Giving people the opportunity to do jobs or roles that they may not have done before, right? So a lot of our frontline managers are either new people managers, they haven't done so in their career and they grew up, learning as experts at Veeva, or we have managers that may have management experience that come in from another company. When a person either first becomes a manager via promotion or transfer at Veeva, or they get hired as a manager, they go through something called Veeva Manager Bootcamp, where they learn a lot about our philosophies, our practices, the ways that we engage with employees, like having regular check-ins, right? So there's certain things that we do. We do try to keep it simple, but there's certain things that we make sure that they understand and practice to help them be effective managers. We also have different opportunities for them to interact with each other. We have something called managers' communities of practice, where they can learn from each other, learn by doing. We have other ways as well. Quarterly, our CEO does an all manager, webinar where he opens it up and managers can ask questions about anything that might be on their mind, or they may be having challenges with. So we like to make sure we give them opportunities to not just connect with the leadership team, but also with each other.
Tell me a little bit about the manager community of practice. That sounds really cool. I imagine it's popular because it gives them a chance to learn, directly from their peers. Are those just sort of ad hoc groups, or do they meet like every month? Is it just for small groups or a large
It's
group?
typically regional, so like within Europe, for example, and it's cross-functional, right? So it could be that somebody's just new to people management, and it's almost like a community, right? Like a cohort. They might hop on together on a Zoom call, or impromptu or scheduled. We have a little bit of both, where they can just ask each other for guidance. And, there's different people you can learn from as a manager. You don't always have to learn from your own manager. You can learn from other leaders. You can learn from your peers. You can learn by watching folks with a lot more experience. So we just want to make sure we enable and we support, right? But at Veeva, employees very much captain their own ship, and we really invest in that, right? We expect and encourage them to captain their own ship. We provide support, guidance, programs so that they can be successful, but really their career is in their hands.
It's great. You mentioned we're talking about culture, engagement, and you mentioned one way the organization gets feedback, your CEO gets feedback, is through the all manager webinars. What are some of the other ways that you're making sure that engagement is high and the culture is what you want it to be?
Absolutely. So we have a pretty unique check-in process. We call it the check-in process, and it's an open, simple, and authentic conversation between the employee and the manager, where first the employee just discusses what is their engagement, right? And then they elaborate on that. The employee sets their engagement. And then the manager also sets the employee's status, which is their performance. So it's a two-way conversation where the employee gets to talk about just how it's going for them at Veeva, or, it could be the role, it could be some of the requirements of the job. They have an open conversation about how it's going and then what is needed. So in that conversation, They also talk about strengths and growth areas, right? So these are some ways that the opportunity is there for the employee and for the manager to focus on the things that are going to help them be just better overall at their jobs. So the check-in process is one way.
Let me follow up on the check-in process. So is this what other organizations might call, an annual performance review, or is it something a little different?
That's right. We evolved from an annual performance review. We used to have it once a year, and it was almost a little bit more formal before when we changed. It was more of a, review of accomplishments and a rating that was given to the employee, whether they were doing, exceeding expectations, things like that. So we moved away from that annual performance review to a twice a year, or more frequent if they want, but twice a year check-in process. So it just has helped to create a little bit more dialogue, more honesty, more authenticity in the communication between the employee and the manager.
Yeah, I wrote a series of articles some years ago about just how absolutely awful the old school performance reviews were for so many reasons. I mean, it's so usually staged because there's ratings. And so either there's rating inflation, or the word has come down that you can only give one person a 5, everyone else to get a 4. Like, it's all weird. And it's not about development. It's like, are you going to max out your pay, your bonus, your raise, or whatever? So there's a different kind of dynamic there. And what you're calling the check-in process, which I like, that's what we say best practice is. I like to call them like stay interviews. Every 6 months, meet one-on-one, like exit interviews. All right, but they're already gone, and they're gonna lie and just say it was more money. A stay interview is about, how's it going? Where would you like to be in the future? What do we need to do to get there? What can, how am I doing? It's a two-way conversation. Yeah. And you're not waiting till December 20th when everyone's trying to get out the door to, process the check mark. So kudos.
Absolutely. So we've separated compensation from the check-in process, just to help with that. And then also, the idea is to just not be surprised, right? We have that respect for each other. We're all about respecting the individual, right? So just like an employee should not surprise their manager all of a sudden, they're out the door and the manager had no idea. It goes both ways. The manager has accountability to let the employee know how they're doing, give them feedback about their performance. If something's not going great, let them know, help them identify what it is that needs to be worked on so that there is a path forward for them to, continue to work at Veeva. So we don't like to surprise each other in any direction. Employees shouldn't be surprising their managers, and managers shouldn't be surprising employees. So the check-in process has really helped with that. It's a tool. Again, accountability is on the employee and on their manager to have that, to build that trust and have that open communication. But it's there as a vehicle to support that.
Sounds great. Sounds like one of the linchpin programs. And you've talked about some others. With everything that you're doing to support the culture, I mean, is there any one thing you're most proud of or happy with?
That's a great question. I think it's, our track record in the industry. Our customer success is probably the thing that if you ask most Vivans, they would say they would be proud of, right? We have small customers, we have large customers. We care about each one equally, and our services teams, our sales teams, our product teams, they all work so hard to help with customer success. And it's just rewarding to see when it all comes together, when our customers are live on our products, and not just live, but live and happy. So they continue to partner with Veeva. We're a strategic partner to the industry. We feel like more than just a vendor, and that's a great feeling. So I think that's, fulfilling when we see our customers treat us in that light.
That's great. And listeners, you probably heard Vivian refer to her colleagues as Vivans, and all strong cultures, typically there becomes a catchword, a descriptive catchword for all the team members. So I heard Vivans, and it always makes me smile when someone reveals how
absolutely
refer to their colleagues. This is a short format podcast. We don't have a lot of minutes left, but really quickly, I'm curious, you could wave a magic wand and send like one book to all of your colleagues to read. What might you send them?
Book to my colleagues. I think The Ideal Team Player by Patrick Lencioni. It's about being humble. It very much is the Veeva way. We like to hire folks that are, nice, work hard, and quick learners. So just a good reminder to always stay humble. It's good to be in the position that we're in, but we have to earn that every day when we show up to work. So that's a good book to just remember to, stay humble, share credit, and share the team's success.
That's great. So thinking about the rest of this year or the year ahead, is there any particular like skill or behavior that you would hope your colleagues, the Vivans, lean into a little more, develop just a little more? What might that be?
Well, I think it's, because one of our core values is speed, right? We all always accomplishing a lot in a short period of time. Something that I have to work on that the leadership team does very well and that we encourage all employees to do is sometimes stop and slow think, right? A little bit more slow thinking, create the space for that because we all run quite quick. Sometimes you need to stop and do some slow thinking, some system two thinking in order to maybe gain a different perspective or go about things a little differently. So a little more slow thinking is probably a good practice.
So maybe that's the second book, the Kahneman book with system one, system two, balancing out, depending on the decision, there's a lot of times that it should be slow thinking. Final question. So what's exciting you the most about Veeva right now?
I think the opportunity that still remains for us to grow. We've come quite a long way in about 15, 16 years, but there's still so much room to grow. So many more applications and innovations that we plan and will be bringing to the market. The amazing people that we have yet to hire, we're 7,000 people now, but we're hoping to be about 10,000 by 2025. So
great.
That's very exciting to me, the opportunity ahead for growing Veeva and continuing to hire, just great talent.
I love it. Vivian, thank you for taking the time on this Friday as well to spend some time talking about culture and Veeva. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Kevin.